Hi, Ruth Nadia. Yeah. By the way, this meeting is live streamed, yes, at the moment. So thank you for joining Ruth. She is currently in Canada. So all the way from Canada, Ruth is joining us. We have Lucy from Nigeria. Thank you, Lucy from Nigeria, for joining us. We have Onyinye joining us from Malawi. Thank you for joining us. It's not 4 o'clock yet, but we're already 12. There are already 12 participants, and that is quite impressive. So we are waiting for, once it's 4 o'clock, we are starting at 4 o'clock on the dot. So thank you once again for joining us. Okay, it says 13 people have joined us. So who am I missing? We have Bessie Franklin. Yes, Bessie Franklin, thank you. Okay, we have Iyanu Fawumi. Iyanu, thank you for joining us. Iyanu from Nigeria, thank you for joining us. It's 2 minutes to... We have Destiny Donald Iwe. Thank you for joining us. She knows. Okay, that's my cousin. So I'm giving her a shout out. Thank you for joining us. It's almost 4 o'clock. In the next 1 minute, we shall be starting. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for joining us. I'm looking at the chat room. We are 15 at the moment. Who made us 15? Okay, we have Miriam Abdul Wahab. Miriam, I don't know if it's the same Miriam. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I am Connie Connie Chance from DRC, but currently in Uganda. Okay. Oh, hi, Connie. Okay, it's a mix-up, maybe from the person I introduced earlier. So at the moment we are 16 of us. So thank you everyone for joining us. I'm looking at the new name that joined, Miriam Abdul Wahab. Thank you for joining us. So like I said earlier, please, why don't you put your name in the chat room and what country are joining us from, so I can give a shout out to you and your country at the same time. Like I said earlier, we are starting exactly at 4 o'clock. And also, okay, at the moment we are 19. We have Eva Wangpo from Nigeria. Okay, so I know Eva Wangpo. So we have Faria Yusuf join us. We have Toyosi Alonge. Thank you, Toyosi Alonge, for joining us. I guess Toyosi, okay. In the chat room, somebody says Miriam from Jiga, all the way from Ethiopia. So thank you everyone for joining us. It's 4 o'clock. So we have Miriam Anya. Miriam Anya is a Nigerian based in the United States of America. We have Glory Obana who join us. We have Ogoi Jikeme. Okay, thank you, Ogo. Ogo all the way from UK join us. Okay, we have Toyosi Alonge, quite a familiar name. Maybe I can't, I'm just thinking. So we have Faria from all the way from Ethiopia. Thank you very much. So it's 4:01 and shall we begin? It's 4:01 and shall we begin? So we are 27 people joining us. So thank you everyone for joining us all the way from wherever you are joining us from. We're already from the chat room, we're already seeing people from Canada, United States, Nigeria, Namibia, Kenya, Malawi, United States of America. We have Toyosi Alonge from Nigeria. Yeah, I know the name is very familiar. Very, very, very. I know the name. All right, thank you for joining us. So we shall begin. Okay, of course we have yes. Okay, we have Hannah Agumbiade. We have once we hit 30, we are starting. It's 4:02. We have Serah Ama. Serah Ama, thank you. We don't know where you're joining us from. That is why I insist that we should please drop your name in the chat room and your country and the flag, so that we can give a shout out to you, because we have people joining us from different parts of the world here, and we'd love to appreciate you for taking some time to join us. So that is why please drop your name in the chat room and drop your name, your country, and the flag, so that we have Amara Archie joining us. We have Tobe Yomi joining us. We have Tinrade Mary. We have of course, we have Mercy Prince Ifo joining us. Okay, so from the chat room here says, thank you, I'm Serah Ama from BGSU, Ohio. Thank you very much, Serah, Amma. So it's 4 o'clock. So right now, let us begin. Distinguished guests, esteemed speakers, partners, innovators, trailblazing women, joining us from across Africa and diaspora. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. I will start off this session, or I will start off this entire event with the quote from Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. She said, African women are not waiting to be saved. They are already leading, building, and transforming the continent. So it is with immense pride and deep gratitude that I welcome you to the very first YALF Women High-Level Dialogue. From the gold-rich land of the Sahel to the towering mountains of East Africa, from the thunderous waterfalls of Southern Africa to the vast desert of North Africa, a powerful force is rising across the continent, and that is the African women. Bold in vision, fearless in leadership, and relentless in purpose, African women are shaping governments, transforming businesses, leading global conversations, and redefining the future of a new Africa. Today marks a defining moment for our organization, the Young African Leaders Forum, and for every young African woman daring to dream beyond limitation. This gathering is centered on a powerful and timely theme, empowering next generation of visionary African women leaders. And truly, you all can agree with me that there has never been a more important time for this kind of conversation. Across Africa, women are no longer waiting to be invited into leadership spaces. They are building institutions, shaping policies, transforming industries, driving innovation, and influencing global conversations, just like we are having it now. From politics to diplomacy, from entrepreneurship to workplace leadership, women are proving every single day that leadership has no gender. Today, we are privileged to learn from an exceptional lineup of women whose impact continues to inspire this generation. We are honored to welcome Serah Ibrahim, who will speak on African women in politics, a conversation that will not be more urgent as women continue to push for stronger representation and courageous leadership across the continent. And especially now that we have few months to go in the Nigerian election calendar. Also, we are privileged to host Dr. Aisha Raouf, who will lead conversation on African women in international diplomacy and the growing influence of African women in shaping global policy and international engagement. And we're honored to also have Dr. Nneka Iruobe speaking on African women in human capital management, shaping talent, leadership, and workplace excellence. A discussion, a very, very important discussion on building people, nurturing excellence, and creating healthier workspaces across Africa. And also, we are equally excited to hear from the most creative, Jacqueline, on women and African women in entrepreneurship and the creative industry, exploring how women are redefining businesses and innovation and culture in Africa's growing economy. So we are going to have a well-rounded discussion today. As the West African Regional of African women inherit opportunities greater than the obstacles before them. May today spark bold ideas, meaningful collaborations, and lasting impacts. Welcome to the YALF Women's High-Level Dialogue. Welcome to the future of African leadership. Okay, since I can't hear you clap, let me clap for yourself, for myself, and for everybody, and I'm clapping on behalf of everybody joining us. Okay, so let's go straight to business of the day. Okay, thank you, thank you. I can see your clap. I can see your clap. Thank you for that. Thank you. So let's go straight to the business of the day. Yes, you heard me right, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Oh my God, people are still clapping. Wow, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, we already have 45 people joining us already. Thank you so much for that. So let's go straight to the business of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, you heard me right, gentlemen. I included gentlemen because we are blessed with the presence of our men who are here to support us. I mean, to all the men in the house, we appreciate your gesture and your presence. We love you all. So first, we are going straight to our first speaker. Our first speaker is one of us. She's the Young African Leaders Forum ambassador. She's a woman whose work and influence continue to transcend borders. A respected global health advocate, policy professional, and development leader. Dr. Aisha Raouf has built an outstanding reputation for driving conversations that shape lives and strengthen institutions across nations. With extensive experience spanning across global health, leadership, advocacy, and international engagement, she represents the growing force of African women taking their place on the global stage. Beyond her professional accomplishments, Dr. Aisha Raouf remains deeply committed to empowering communities, advancing sustainable development, and amplifying Africa's voice in international spaces. Her work reflects the very essence of visionary leadership, influence rooted in service, excellence, and impact. Today, she will be speaking on the very important topic, African women in international diplomacy. A conversation focused on how African women are shaping global policies, fostering peace, strengthening representation, and redefining leadership within international institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in warmly welcoming the remarkable Dr. Aisha Raouf. Dr. Aisha, Dr. Aisha, the podium is yours now.
Thank you so much, Madam Moderator. I really love what you do, your passion, your energy. You completely reflect the vibes of YALF and the vibes of the Sheroes women. Okay, in the beginning, good evening, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for this, first of all, Madam Moderator, and I would really like to begin by expressing my sincere appreciation to all the organizers of Sheroes for the kind invitation to speak at this distinguished gathering. It's a privilege for me today to be among such an inspiring audience and for sure leaders, professionals and advocates committed to advancing the role of the African women in leadership and global development. I also extend my appreciation to all the participants that they are present today for your engagement for sure in this important dialogue on diplomacy, empowerment, and for the future of the leadership in Africa. An honor to be here this evening. So my journey into the diplomacy and global health and leadership has been shaped both by personal influence and for sure professional experience. After my graduation, I had the opportunity to serve within the United Nations mission in Sudan. It was 2011 in the UNV, and that experience was deeply formative. It allowed me to understand diplomacy not as a theoretical concept, but as a life responsibility, one that directly impacts communities, stability, and human lives. Working in humanitarian and diplomatic environments exposed me to the importance of coordination, dialogue, and service-oriented leadership. It also taught me a fundamental truth about leadership. That's leadership. It's not about being in charge. It's about taking the care of those in your charge. And across the African continent, we continue to witness the rise of exceptional women who are shaping diplomacy, governance, and global leadership. So, for example, Amina J. Mohammed serves as one of the most influential African voices in global development and international policy coordination, as well as we have Miss Ellen Johnson. She made the history as the first elected female head of state in Africa, leading her nation through a peace building and recovery. Also, we do have Miss Nkosi Okonjo, broke a significant global barriers as the first African and first woman to lead the World Trade Organization. These women demonstrate that African women are not emerging into a leadership. They are all already defining it at the highest level. One of the most profound aspects of my journey has been witnessing the resilience and strength of Sudanese women as well. Despite the complex of political and social challenges, Sudanese women, they are continue to demonstrate a remarkable leadership with their families, communities, and for sure, the professional spaces. They are active contributors. They are contributing into peace building, social stability, and national development, education, healthcare, like strengthening the healthcare systems, and etc. From Sudan, I'm also honored to mention someone who's very close and very dearest to me personally, Miss Asrar Ahmed al-Siddiq, a Sudanese diplomat who has served in the Sudanese mission in Sweden, and her journey reflects the discipline, dignity, and resilience of a Sudanese young woman in diplomacy and also in international representation. As we look toward the future, one of our most important responsibilities to empower the next generation of African girls is to believe in their potential and leadership capacity. This requires international investment in mentorship, for sure, education, and visibility, as young women today must be encouraged to step into leadership spaces with confidence and clarity of purpose. They must understand that the leadership it's not granted and it should be developed, earned, and embodied through commitment and resilience. In conclusion, African women are not waiting for the future. They are actively shaping it today across diplomacy, global health, governance, and development. My message will be to every young woman here today is simple. Trust your voice, stay committed to your purpose, and never underestimate the impact you can create in the world. And you can start from your place now. If your dreams not scare you, they are not big enough. It has been an honor for me to speak with you today, and thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Aisha Raouf. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation and quite insightful. And thank you for the fact that you told us about your journey and how you got into leadership, how you started off in the United Nations. We'll still get back to that. And for those people who have questions for her, please are free to drop your question in the chat room and I will ask her at the right time. Or for the sake of time, I'll give 3 people the opportunity to use the speaker later in the conversation. So thank you once again, Dr. Aisha Raouf. Thank you for that beautiful presentation.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. So So we are moving straight to our very next speaker. Because policies may shape nations, but courageous voices and fearless leadership to challenge system, inspire citizens, and drive real change. Why am I saying all this? Our next speaker is someone who embodies courage. Courage. It takes, she once tweeted how she was offered the whooping sum of 100 million twice to forget the fight about the betterment of Nigeria. I think that was really the first time I took notice of her. And I said, who are you to decline such a tempting offer? So Serah Ibrahim is widely respected for her fearless advocacy, political consciousness, and unwavering commitment to social justice and national development. Beyond her strong voice in civic engagement and policy discourse, she's an accomplished finance professional with extensive experience spanning the health sector, aviation, consulting, and the Big Four. With multiple certifications, 2 master's degree, years of leadership experience, she represents a powerful blend of intellect, influence, and impact. Today, she will be speaking on African women in politics, a timely and necessary conversation on representation, courage, governance, and the future of women in politics across Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome the courageous Serah Ibrahim. Serah Ibrahim, you can unmute yourself and the podium is yours. Okay, let's keep talking while she joins us. Hello, Serah Ibrahim. I can see her in the chat room. Serah, can you unmute yourself in case you're already speaking? Oh, hi, Serah, can you unmute yourself? Okay, can you unmute yourself? Okay. Okay, so while waiting for her, if she can hear us, we're already 61 in number. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for joining this conversation. And it says, good day for everyone. Okay, we'll be expecting your questions in the chat room. Okay, so somebody is repeating this question, one of the lines from Dr. Aisha Raouf. She said, if your dream can't scare you, it means you are not big enough. So thank you for that. So Serah Ibrahim. Okay, Serah, yes, okay, she has unmuted. Serah, the podium is yours now. Thank you. Serah, we can't hear you at the moment. You are speaking, but we can't hear you. We can't hear you. Hello, Serah. We can't hear you. We can see you, but we can't hear you. I guess it's a network problem. Okay, in case you're joining us now, just know that we are being live streamed on YouTube at the moment. Yes, so also just to thank the 60 people that have already joined us at the moment. Thank you very much. Okay, Serah, you are muted and we can't see you at the moment. Your video, please, can you unmute yourself, Serah? Thank you. Okay. Could that be a technical problem? I guess it's probably the network. We're in Nigeria here, we're in a rainy season. So probably the weather might be playing a funny game at the moment. So, hi, Serah. one more minute. Hi, Serah, can you hear us now? Please, can you unmute yourself and can you use the video? We're still waiting, Serah, if you can hear us. Okay. All right. So while we're waiting for Serah Ibrahim, let's go back to Dr. Aisha. Someone has a question.
Sure.
Someone has a question.
Yes.
Yes. Is that Serah?
Yes.
Or... Okay. Oh, thank you, doctor. You're here. Okay, someone has a question for you. Probably you can see it in the chat room, but let me read it out. Someone says, my question goes to Dr. Aisha as one of the youth ambassadors. How would you encourage the young girls that are not shot by the community only, but by their family? Also, their family also still discourage them by saying that a girl's dreams only comes true once she is married. So back to my country, we are still facing such challenges because girls are dragged to marriage, thinking it's the only purpose and responsibility that they have. So Dr. Aisha, what would you say about that?
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Corinne Chance, for the question. It's a very brilliant point that you want me to elaborate about more. So in the beginning, as a woman, if you would like to face from inside, which is you need to face your family first, you need to be so brave. You need to be a very strong believer in yourself first. If you didn't believe that you have a purpose, if you didn't believe that you're gonna break these stereotypes or this kind of barriers by yourself first, you will go for nowhere. And for sure, this starts from your inside, from your inner faith with yourself and with your self-confidence. And then you can reflect it with a very, we can say, healthy conversation and very healthy communication with your family. You can convince them, if we said like not 100%, if you did the 50%, so you win. You definitely succeed. So you need to listen to them, their perspective. Then you need respectfully to show them your perspectives as well, what the point of view that you have, and you need to elaborate about your purpose, your dreams, your goals. And marriage is something that's crucial in any woman's life. I cannot say that it's not crucial or like we can just put it apart. No, but there is another priorities come maybe on the same stage as well. So if you didn't, or if you don't step on the same square that your, for sure, like your future husband will be on, so you will be either too far behind or it will be a very a struggling life for you. So whenever you whenever you felt yourself that it's the time for you to be in a company, that time it's the perfect time for you. And yes, for sure, there's kind of destiny and etc. But there is a time that you will feel yourself, you grow up and you are mature enough to take the responsibility to take this decision. And by that time, only you will be responsible about your life and your decisions and your future. So before than that, I believe that no one in this world can force you to take a decision to marry or not to marry, or to stop your education or not to stop your education, like, or stop pursuing your goals. By the end of the day, anyone stop you from pursuing your goals once they notice that you reached, that you achieved what you aimed for. And even obstacles, struggles, and challenges never stopped you. So by that time, they will believe in you. So for me, my perspective and my advice to you and all the young women, you need to believe on yourselves first. Even with your families, yes, you need to sit together in a round table, very healthy, open discussion, and reflect all what you are in your hearts and in your mind, because you are not belong to anyone. You are just belongs to yourself, and you will live one life that it should be chosen by yourselves. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Aisha. Thank you for that beautiful answer. Okay. Thank you. At the moment, I think Serah Ibrahim is here. She's no longer muted. Serah, maybe because of network, you can go ahead and speak without your video. Maybe with time, you can turn on your video. Hi, Serah, can you hear? Serah, can you say hello if you can hear me? Can you say hello? Hi, Serah, can you say hello? If you're using an earpiece, you can try talking without an earpiece. In case you're using an earpiece, you can try speaking without an earpiece, because sometimes it could. Okay, so while we're waiting for Serah, we already have questions coming on in chat room. Somebody says my questions goes to. Okay. Oh, sorry. No, there's a question here. So someone says, Dr. Aisha, you have to answer this question while we're waiting for our second speaker. It says, how can women move from participation to influence? Okay, that's from Lucy. Okay, Lucy okay, from Lucy Odumo. She said, how can women move from participation to influence on the global governance stage? And how is technology changing diplomacy and international engagement from your own experience? Dr. Aisha, okay. Is still there?
Yes,
yeah,
the
question is there in the chat room. Maybe you can read it for a better comprehension. Yeah. But let me repeat it again, if you don't mind.
Okay, sure.
Okay, thank you. How can women move from participation to influence on the global governance stage? And how is technology changing diplomacy and international engagements from your experience? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you, Miss Lucy. I'm sure this is one of the very deep intellectual questions, and I appreciate your question as well. So we can say that women, it's not in one day and night that you will move from just participate or participant to influencer in a diplomacy. It's a journey that you need to strengthen it with reaching your communication, networking, and be open to another cultures, different communities, different backgrounds in religious backgrounds. For example, different language, different social backgrounds, and different perspectives. You need to know even how the people on the other side of the universe, how they are thinking and how they are thinking about you, and how the way you think about them as well. And then for me, be authentic person, have a purpose. And for me, like as Aisha, it's not about when just I'm talking about Africa, an African region, I feel like it's not about just being an African woman, no, but I'm very deeply rooted with Africa, and I'm very deeply rooted with African people and what they are really being struggled for, like since long time ago. And my purpose is just to let those voices that no one hears about them, to let it be appears on a global platform or a global stage. For people, they are suffering from diseases, vulnerable communities, and lack of human rights, lack of women rights, and lack of education. A lot of cases. That's I'm being pursuing these cases since so long, and my purpose is this. My purpose is to let this unheard voice to get the chance to appear or to be heard by the people from the global leadership. So it's not an easy journey, and it's need to be like it's need from your side to be pursuing that, being authentic. No need to be shiny, or no need to be using a very specific words or a very diplomatic words. No, you need to be authentic. You need to be that you are carry a purpose of a case, a specific case that you believe in, you faith on that, and that's your only purpose, that it will make you be an influence, and your impact, it will never being deniable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that beautiful response from Dr. Aisha. More questions are coming in, but before then, before we go on, I want to ask this question because I think maybe it could be in the mind of lots of people here. First of all, I think that a bit intertwined. The first one is how, because you're talking about getting into the United Nations. I mean, trust me, there are a lot of people, a lot of young ladies out there who would want to that opportunity to, who would love the opportunity to go to into places like the United Nations to contribute their voices. That is the first question. How do you start off? That's the first question. Then the other question is, for the fact Africa, most countries in Africa are regarded as the third world country. How do you also make your contribution there, considering the fact you're coming from a third world country? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Could you, dear, please come again?
Okay, the first question is,
because
you talked
there is
about
a lot of questions.
Okay, let me break it down.
Yeah.
Number one,
Yeah.
you said
Okay.
you joined, you started off your career in the United Nations when it comes to international
Okay.
diplomacy. So
That's
I
who,
mean, a lot
Bobby?
of people here.
The
Sorry?
the name is who?
I said that you started,
Okay.
you told us that you started off your career, somehow you got into the United Nations, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes. So many young ladies out there,
Okay.
will be wondering, how can they go to that extent in their career? Because I'm sure a lot of people are interested in the international diplomacy. That is the number one question. How do you go into such spaces? Number two, considering the fact they are coming from, we are Africans, most African countries are third world countries. So how do you tend to make your impact, considering the fact they are coming from a third world country and you're going to meet people out there who are coming from the second or first world countries? Yeah, those are two questions.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much. For me, even before I got my certificate from the university, I joined the United Nations. I joined the UNV. And in Sudan at that time, by that time, it's a privilege to be a part of the UN. And it was not something that available for all. But if you do have a perfect English language, you just speak fluent, and you have a good education, we can say well educated, and you have a good communication skills, and you believe in such humanitarian, women rights, human rights, rule of law, journalist, and etc., different kind of departments, you will be apart from that. And for sure, they can start with the UNV, which is the United Nations Volunteers. it can allow them, even if they are like 25 years old, they can join that for just a period of time, and then for sure there will be a jobs like or a roles that they are opening, and they preferring just to go internal. So as long as you are part of the UNV, your chances even much more than the people from outside. So at least you speak the UN language, and after that you might be get the opportunity. Okay, the second part of the question from me, diplomacy. As I mentioned before in my speech, that I being influenced by family, which is personal, and also professional. I being engaged into diplomatic community for a quite years, and before of that. I can see that because diplomacy is just about roles, it's about the actions and services that you are providing. I saw my father how he's treating the people. I saw my mom as also as we can say a community women. So I noticed their initiatives, and I noticed their leadership in the community, and I noticed that. And also like later, uh, when we engage into a diplomatic community closer, so with traveling like different kind of missions, and being invited into different kind of receptions, and also like having a speech with high officials and excellences. So that's completely encouraged me to just follow the career beside my career as a doctor, a static doctor. So for me, I'm trying to bridging the gap between the global health and the diplomacy. And my case study or the example, it was the corona, when the coronavirus, and I believe that in Sudan, how Sudan was suffering from vulner of we can say lack of vaccinations, and how diplomacy played a very crucial role into providing the vaccinations systems, or the vaccinate to Sudanese fellowships. So it was a very diplomatic sensitive role that, for example, China was providing everything to Sudan by that time. And here is diplomacy, how it's save lives, how it's serving people, and how it's um, bridging, uh, we can say, like if we can say, like, whenever you have a full cup, and for example your friend have a like empty cup, you need just to balance it, and then you need to both of them, both of you, you need to have a little of that water, so both of you gonna save your lives. And that's for me diplomacy when it's integrated with global health. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that wonderful answer to the questions. Thank you so much. So while we are waiting, okay. So while we are waiting for, I think Miss Jacqueline is ready. Miss Jacqueline Aki is ready, right? So I think, so while we are waiting for, okay, Serah, please, can you use your phone? Maybe in case you are using, because I'm trying to get in touch with you. If you can't, if your laptop, oh, finally. Hi, Serah.
Yes, hi. Good evening, everyone. Apologies. I don't know, you can't hear me even when I'm connected. So I don't know what the issue is, but I left my laptop with a friend, so I don't know, possibly the microphone settings, or I guess. Apologies to everyone, and good day to each and every one of you. And Thank you for permitting me to log out and log in and log out and log in consistently.
All right. Okay, Serah, yes, we have introduced you already. So, but before you continue, I would want to ask you about a question. During your introduction, I made a comment about a tweet you made some years ago talking about how you were offered 100 million naira twice to abandon the pursuit for the betterment of Nigeria. And that story stuck with me. And I said, any day I'm going to speak with this lady, the first question I'm going to ask her is, how did you go about it? And I know you have a presentation to do, but you can just shed a little light on that before you continue. Thank you, Serah.
Yes, thank you very much, Onyi. It was, the whole issue with the protests that we held, and there was a lot of, pushback from the government. And basically, they didn't want us to go to court, and they didn't want us to show the world the evidence that we had. So I had a lot of evidence. And if you remembered, I was the star witness in the panel for as regards the whole issue that happened during the October 20th, 2020 events in Lekki Tollgate. So I was literally consistently offered to, oh, this is just to thank you for your hard work. And that's what they said, though. And I told them, you can channel the money to something else and give it to people who I know that you've harmed, people who I know that would need it. And these are people who have been amputated because of the gunshots and the shooting that happened that night. So rather than trying to give me or for me to stand down, why not push it to them so they can take care of everything that they need to do, their health and every other thing. So it was just a back and forth, and they agreed, and then they came back again. Oh, we just want to thank you for advising us properly. This one is for you. And when you have things that the government needs, they will always try a way or find a way to get to you. But because of the the integrity that we had and the belief of what we were doing, we knew we were on the right, and we knew we were going to get justice. So there's no need to be afraid, and there's no need to back down. So that's why I continue to insist that we have to do what is right, and we have to, or they have to push the funds to the people who they harmed, rather than trying to um give, I call it shut up money. So because I'm not going to shut up, so why collect shut up money when I'm not going to shut up? So and I want us to always understand that when you start speaking up and when you start believing that your voice can make a change, there's always going to be someone somewhere that will try to look for ways that they can ensure that you reduce your voice or you don't speak at all. So when it comes to silence, when we speak about democracy and the things that we want to become better in our nation, silence is not an option. So we cannot keep quiet. We cannot be silent, because what they will always try to do is silence you. And what they tried to do to me was to silence me. And, you know, we have to ensure that we're on the path of justice.
All right, thank you for that. So thank you for answering that question. For those of you, in case you are wondering what she's talking about, maybe for those who are not from Nigeria, it was during the popular NSAS of 2020. Yeah, she was one of the star witnesses. She was one of the star witnesses at the NSAS panel, and she's talking about the 100 million naira that was offered to her. That's a whole lot of thousands of dollars if you convert it. So thank you, Serah, for that. So back to our presentation of African women in politics. All right, Serah.
Yes, thank you very much, Onyi, for putting this together, and to every young African that's currently listening. And to the first speaker, that was a very beautiful presentation. And personally, I would even like to hear more about the duties as regards the United Nations in Sudan. But then, right now, we're speaking on African women in politics. It's a very strong topic because when you think about politics, especially in Africa, the first thing that comes to your mind would not be a woman. It won't be a woman. If you look at all our countries in Africa, every of our parliaments, you would hardly find a female representative. You will hardly find. Currently in Africa, we have over 1.4 billion people. And out of that 1.4 billion people, over 790 million of that amount of people are women. So we have over 790 million women, but just 26% of that 790 million women are currently in positions of parliament or parliamentary seats in Africa. Is that a pass or a fail? And I'm sure you know that's a huge failure. And is it because women cannot lead? I want us to ask ourselves, is it because women cannot lead? Or is it that women are not ready to lead? So we need to understand that as women, we need to be ready to lead. Let's think about it for a second. Women carry nations. Women raise families, even in the period of war, even in the period of hunger, even in the period of hardship. Women still have the strength, have the energy to raise families. Women lead communities. Women lead businesses. In almost all the classrooms you go into, you would see a woman. They're the one. They would say a woman rather. You will find women who are the ones trying to raise the child, who are the ones trying to ensure that discipline and actually what the child wants to achieve in life is being set in a specific goal process. Politics is not always about election. Politics determines education. Politics determines healthcare. Politics determines what should be law. Politics determines who gets opportunities and, most importantly, who gets left behind. Now, here it's where we come in as women. We have allowed ourselves to be left behind when it comes to politics, especially in Africa. We've put ourselves in a position whereby we are being seen as not ready to lead. Only 26% currently in the whole of Africa have representative in parliaments. In some countries in Africa, they have, it has a good percentage. In Rwanda, we currently have 60% of women in Rwanda, and that's one of the highest in the world. I mean, even it was recently spoken about, I think, in the BBC publication, where Rwanda women are now taking the bold step to lead in politics in their country. In South Africa, we have 45% of women in parliament. In Namibia, we have 40% of women in parliament. In Senegal, we have 43% of women in parliament. In my loving country, Nigeria, I don't know how many Nigerians are currently listening, but sadly, in Nigeria, we have about 4% of women in political positions or in parliamentary seats. 4%. Currently, in the Senate, we have just 4 women. And yesterday, I recently saw the publication that was done by the Anambra State's government as regards the candidates for their elections, for the upcoming election in 2027. So the next year elections for ABGA, they released their candidates list. In the entire National Assembly, there are just 2 women out of 14 people, out of 14 seats, 2 women. In the Senate, they sprinkled 1 woman there. And also in the House of Reps, they sprinkled 1 woman there. And in the huge state assembly of over 30 people, there's just 1 woman sprinkled. Oh, I'm sure they looked at it and they were like, there's no woman here. Oh, let's just. mm, and that's just how it has been over and over and over again. And that is because we have allowed what we're supposed to control to be controlled by others. We've allowed what we're supposed to put ourselves in. We've allowed other people to take charge. Women can control. Women can lead. Women can say what it should be and what shouldn't be. Again, are we ready enough to lead in African politics? When we're excluded from leadership, the entire community loses representation. It's not just one person. the entire community loses representation. So, despite our barriers, African women continue to break impossible ceilings. We have continued to ensure that we make our voices heard. I've just spoken about Rwanda making global history of 60% of their women being in parliamentary seats. And it proves that something can be done if we determine that we can put ourselves in leadership positions. We are actually very capable of leadership, but we are not ready to lead. Sometimes we look at ourselves and doubt ourselves. We try to see how many people we vote for a woman, how many people we look at a woman as a leader. We doubt ourselves because we don't believe we can break that ceiling. For us to ensure that we become women leaders in politics in Africa, we need to believe. We need to believe in ourselves. We need to believe in the capacity and in the capability that we bring to the table as women and as leaders. If you can lead a home, then you can lead a community. If you can lead a community, then you can lead a nation. So African women are actually the ones who make themselves feel like they're not capable enough. I understand that in politics, a lot of women feel like they cannot get it done. A lot of women, what they actually find very belittling is people looking at you and saying that you're not supposed to be on the table of power. Personally, for me, how I got into politics, I used to work in Deloitte, a big four, and one day I woke up and I told myself that I cannot continue to sit and allow things go on. Because every time we come online, we complain, we talk about these issues. And I saw what was currently happening with the whole NSAS situation. I saw how people were trying to speak up and they were being trampled down. And I felt like my silence was complicity. Because when you don't speak, it means you are in cahoots. It means you agree with what is happening. But if you don't agree, then speak up and don't just speak up, speak louder so that they can understand that you know the situation and you want to help to solve it and sort it out. So when I started speaking up as regards things that happened around Nigeria, things that were currently happening in government, it was because I was trying to be the change that I seek. For you to be in a leadership position, so for you to be a strong female in politics, in wherever you find yourself, you need to be the change that you seek. If there are things that are currently going wrong that you don't support, if there are things that are currently happening that you cannot deal with, speak about it. Do not be one of the people to keep quiet because your silence is complicity. So I started speaking up. I started talking about the things that I wanted to change. I started talking about the things that I see in my community that I didn't like. I started talking about how we can get a better country and, most importantly, a better leadership. And from then on, I decided that the best way to get it done is to encourage my generation and my age mates to vote in elections. Because in elections in Nigeria, I don't know how it is in other countries, in Rwanda, Namibia, but in Nigeria, it's always the old people, the older generations who come out to vote. The younger people don't come out to vote. So I looked into the data and I realized it's because the young people are not registered to vote. So I took it upon myself to travel around the country getting and enlightening young voters to register and vote and get a leadership that will work in Nigeria. So I was everywhere. I went to the north, I went to the northeast, to the northwest, to the north central, southeast, southwest. And in one of my outings, I realized that most people who are in the corporate world, especially in where I live in Lagos, didn't have PVCs because they didn't have the time to go sit in INEC office to register. So I thought about it that if we can bring the INEC to them, they would definitely get their PVC registered. And that was how I went to INEC office, spoke to them. Let's try and see how we can register people. So where I live around Lekki and close to my office in Deloitte, everyone knows around VI. That's where a lot of offices are. Access Bank, Zenith Bank, different banks. And in that exact area, there's a huge bus stop there where almost everybody converge. A lot of people go there to, get bus. That's where a lot of people pass to if you're driving back home. So I thought about getting INEC to be there so that when people are on their break, and most especially when they're done from work, they can go and get their voters card registered. And I was also doing transfer of PVCs for people on my phone through the CVR continuous voters registration on INEX portal. And in one of the days, I met someone who literally changed the trajectory of what I was doing. He was the owner of one of the biggest restaurants in VI. And he met me there and he was like, oh, he wants to get his PVCs done. And he was like, why are you guys doing this under the sun? In my restaurant, I have a lounge that you can come and you can bring the INEX staff and we can make that place, where we can be registering PVCs. So I went back to INEC, I spoke to their supervisor and he agreed. And he made that place a permanent place for his staff to register PVCs. And in that lounge, we started meeting CEOs, we started meeting supervisors, management of banks, different people come there to register their PVCs. It became like a place to network because almost all the offices there found out that, oh, they're registering PVC here. And a lot of people came there to register their PVCs. And up until today, I still have the data of people that were registered there, their phone numbers, their names. And that was how we're able to control a voting block of people who registered their PVCs. And out of the blues, one day, while I was registering people for their PVCs, I saw some people came into that lounge for a meeting with the owner of the restaurant, and it was His Excellency Peter Obi and the late Doyin Okupe of blessed memories. And they're like, what's happening here? And they met, a lot of directors from Access Bank and the then people from Diamond Bank that were still trying to merge with Access Bank, and they sat down, they talked, they spoke, and they were like, "Oh, you're registering PVCs, and that's very good." And then I spoke to His Excellency, spoke to Doyin Okupe, and I traveled to Yobe to also do the same thing to register people for their PVCs to vote, to register young people. And then right there in Yobe State, guess who I met again? And then he was like, you know what? You have to be a part of this campaign. You have to, give me your contacts and let's get on from there. And that's how I started, even with my daily job that I do. I still, create time once or twice in a day to see what I can do for His Excellency Peter Obi. So that's how I started working for the campaign, and that's how I started working for the presidential candidates. Who I know a lot of people would say won the election, and there's still going to be, a whole lot of back and forth as regards that election, but we all know what happened. And this election, I am sure that as women in politics, we're going to come out and give our votes to the right leader. But that's how I actually became someone in politics who sits in tables where, a lot of leadership and a lot of um decisions are being made. Just because I decided to get up from my bed and take that one bold step to come outside and be the change that I seek. So, as women in politics, you always want to think about, how am I going to start? How is it going to be possible? The answer is just start. You would not get it done if you don't start. A journey of 1,000,000 miles starts with one step. And we need to take that step, because if we do not take that step, then we will not be involved. And if we're not going to be involved, then it's one more woman who is going to be deducted amongst the women that we're supposed to have in leadership position. And we need way more women right now than ever. So we must promote women's inclusion in political leadership and also public office wherever we find ourselves. It's not as charity, but it's as a necessity, because everybody knows wherever you find a woman, you find actions and you find organization. So we need to ensure that we start. I'm sure from your different countries, there are a whole lot of things that people say about women. I know what I hear about even myself, even in being in politics. Because as a woman, the next thing that they paint you is, you're not good enough to be a leader. You're not good enough to be on the table where decisions are made. Some people see you, and the first thing that they imagine is, oh, I wonder who this person is dating for her to be in this position. Nobody looks at your background. Nobody looks at your career. Nobody looks at the things you've done. Nobody looks at your CV. Nobody looks at the trajectory of the things you've actually carried out in your life. And I know for a fact that is what a lot of women face. You are going to face it. It's one thing you need to understand. People are going to say a whole lot of things about you. People are going to call you all sort of names just because you're a woman. They won't say that to the man on the table. If you go to a meeting and you see 5 men and 1 woman, nobody would wonder, I wonder how that man got on this table. But they will wonder, I wonder how this woman got on this table. So, as women in leadership, also, whenever we find ourselves in leadership position, we need to ensure that we try our possible best to bring other women along. Pick up women from behind you, take them to positions that you want to see them in. Personally, I have done that and I will continue to do that over and over and over again. Because wherever I find myself, I always want to ensure that there are more women there. Currently, there was even recently that some people were saying that the only people that I take to His Excellency Peter Obi are women. I said, oh, I don't like to talk to men. I don't like to take men to meet him. I only take women. And it's because I always want to see that there are women in the position of politics. There are women in position of power. So it is left to you and I to ensure that wherever we find ourselves, we look at our surrounding and ask ourselves, how many women can I bring along with me? How many women can I take into a position where they'll be respected? We need to get that done because the number 26% in the entire Africa, out of over 790 million women, just 26% is below par. That's a very, very poor statistic that we must start changing. So, young women need to see women in leadership campaigns, speaking in parliaments, shaping policies. We need to start negotiating and seeing how we can put ourselves in positions that can, encourage people to be in leadership, positions that can change policies, positions that can ensure that the fiscal monetary policies in our country is actually what we need to get done. Look at women like Okonjo Iweala in Nigeria. She has done a lot and she will continue to do a lot, especially for women in politics. We need to look at the women around us and ensure that we continue to push for other women to get it done. So, and to every young African woman asking, how do I begin in politics? Like I said, the journey of a million miles starts with one step. So we need to actually take the steps. So politics does not begin with running for president. Politics begin by your little actions. It begins by that tiny little step that you take to ensure that you change what is around you. I started with one single step, just registering people on my phone to get their PVCs so that they can vote. And then going to INEC offices to get one of their staff to, let's see how we can encourage more young people to vote. That was the little step I took. And from that little thing I was doing, I met the biggest presidential candidates in the country that everybody was talking about. So we need to ensure that we take that one step because you don't know where that step is going to take you. You don't know the actions that you are going to actually and the barriers that you can actually break when you take that step. Join student leadership programs, volunteer during elections, attend town hall meetings, work with community organizations. Most importantly, support advocacy movements where you need to speak. As women, we must ensure that we speak and we speak loud because we need to make the world understand that we know what it takes to be leaders. We understand what leadership is. There's already a huge stereotype against women in politics in Africa. We need to start changing that. We need to start purchasing forms to run elections. We need to now be the ones to be voted for. If you go to every election, you go to every place that you see people queue up to vote, you will always find women. they are always the ones queuing up to vote for someone. Why are we not be the ones that is supposed to be voted for? Right now, what we need to do is to ensure that we put ourselves in positions to be voted for. So we need to start believing that politics begins with us. Politics begins with you. That little thing that is happening in your community, what is it? Don't you like the way that the waste management, carry out their processes in your community? Don't you like the way the bills are being passed? Don't you like the way your representation is actually carrying out all the activities in your constituency? If you don't like all of those actions, the only way to change it is to speak. We need to now start being the voices, because before you become a leader, you need to understand the processes. And before you can understand the processes, you need to get involved. It is high time we stop being on the sidelines. We need to now start getting involved. So Africa needs women at every level, as councillors, as local government chairmen, as policy advisors, as party executives, as governors. We need to ensure that we must start being the face that people see in our political space. Women always face barriers when it comes to politics, barriers like, financial barriers, political intimidation, as we don't have big chests and huge arms like the other people who have huge chests and huge arms. But our voice should be what we can use to change it. Our ideas, the women in Nigeria and the women in Africa hold one of the most brilliant species that you can ever meet. We are one of the most brilliant people that the world has ever seen or met. If you go to various hospitals in the world, if you go to various businesses in the world, you will always find an African in a leadership position, most especially an African woman. So, why do we belittle ourselves when it comes to our own country? Why do we think we cannot make it work in our own country when it comes to these positions? So we need to now start changing that stereotype that we can get it done and we should get it done. So the barriers must be broken. There are signs that our transformation must be done. So what we need right now is mentorship. Mentorship as women is critical. So let's look around us. How many women can you find, especially in political positions in your country? In my country, personally, for me, I do really like Senator Natasha. She's bold, she's fierce, and she speaks when she needs to speak. And I'm sure around us too, we have women just like that we can look up to and say, I want to be in this position of power and I know I can get it done. So we must continue to advance conversation on inclusive governance across Africa, where leadership is not determined by gender, tribe, religion, or privilege, but by competence, vision, integrity, and service. Because the future Africa needs cannot be built by excluding women. So again, I ask women in Africa, are you ready to become an African leader? Or is it that we're not ready yet? We need to be ready. We need to take our steps and remember that every single journey starts with a step. So as we gather here today to speak, let that step start now. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Serah Ibrahim. Thank you so much for that beautiful speech. I'm not surprised. People are clapping and oh, that was very impressive. Thank you, Serah. Thank you, Serah, for that beautiful speech. So you see, the whole room is oh my God, I'm seeing the emojis flying up. Thank you, Serah Ibrahim, for your time. Your questions are already popping up, and I'm sure a lot of people have questions for you. So please, you just have to hang on a bit. We'll just have 2 more speakers go, and then we'll compile the questions, because we have questions for you. A lot of people have questions for you. And for more people, because we may not have time to give everyone the microphone to speak, to ask their questions. So it's easier for you to drop your questions in the chat room. drop it there and I'll read it. Thank you, Serah, once again for that elaborate speech on African women in politics. Thank you so much, Serah. So to continue this, we cannot talk about empowering African women without talking about our mental health. So before we move on to our next speaker, we are taking the next 5 minutes to talk mental health. Remember, I said next 5 minutes. I'll be yielding the microphone to a mental health champion, a PhD scholar at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa, an accomplished corporate trainer specializing in risk management, project management, and finance, Master of Professional Accounting from Torrens University in Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, can we make welcome Lina Riwamba? Hi, Lina. Hi, Lina. Are you there? Please unmute yourself so I can speak. Lina Riwamba. Lina is here. She has been in the chat room speaking. Okay. Lina, are you there?
Yes.
Hi, Lina.
Hi, everyone.
Yes, Lina, you have 5 minutes. So that's 5 minutes to tell us about mental health.
Hi, everyone. Kindly don't mind my background. I'm in the shop. I won a Google Hustle entrepreneurship thing. So this is where I'm working, and it's in the evening. But please let me know whether I'm audible or not.
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Perfect. So my name is Lina Riwamba. I'm from Kenya. And yes, thank you for the good introduction. I don't want to butcher your name, madam. So I'll not repeat it. Thank you, Dr. Aisha. Thank you, Serah. I think it's Serah. Yeah, you were very insightful. And everyone, let's talk about mental health. Kiasi, as we say in Kenya, just a little bit. So, okay. So, what is mental health? Mental health is, if I come to you, I'll be like, hi, Onyinye. Onyinye is my friend. Hi, Onyinye. How was your day? What will Onyinye respond? Most likely, she'll be like, I'm good. Everyone expects you to say, you're good, you're fine, you're okay. But in the real sense, you're not fine. And many of us have not been given that safe space to answer honestly to greetings. So that is where we go wrong. There are very, very few people that you would open up.
Hi, Lina. We can't hear you. You are muted. You are muted.
Hello, can you hear me now?
We can't hear you. You are muted.
Dennis, please. Okay, sorry, the
Okay, we
audio
can hear you now. We can hear you now. We can hear you now. We can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, I was saying that when someone greets you, did you hear that part?
Yes, yes, we did.
Okay, so we've not been given safe spaces, especially as Africans, both men and women, to answer honestly to greetings and to like express our emotions. So that creates trauma to us. Even at work, when someone bothers you, like we mostly shrink, especially the women. And it's not until you love yourself, not until you realize you need to be honest with yourself, give give a schedule, like get a meeting. When you're honest with yourself, you'll be able to, what I say, like analyze, do a cost benefit analysis, a CBT, what we say in finance, a cost benefit analysis. So you look at the benefits, they should outweigh the pros should outweigh the cons. Like, you should be gaining. So as a woman, as a man, anyone, because we have the men here who are supporting us. Big up to my best friend Jimmy, he's here. Eve is here too. My sister is here. Esther, thank you. So call yourself for a meeting. Say like, what am I experiencing? Be honest with yourself. And also, let's learn not to keep things in our hearts, especially the men in Africa, mostly, most of the communities, Kenya, I know Tanzania also. I don't know about West Africa, but most East African communities, men are not supposed to cry. Men are not supposed to appear weak. Men are supposed to act strong. All these are misconceptions on mental health. Kindly, so let's be people who can be a society that can accept people the way they are. And to do this, what our speaker was telling us, we need to take these spaces of leadership and own them. That's why we need more leaders to vie, more women leaders to vie. So yeah, that is what I can say is what I can say is mental health. As an ambitious, visionary woman, we need to win on the outside. You may see someone has a thriving career, you're working, you're driving, you're married, but deep on the inside, you're grieving. I'd say you're grieving. So basically that. And also, let me touch a bit on some of the mental health disorders.
Hi, Lina. It's over 5 minutes now. Thank you very much. Thank you. In our subsequent events, you will definitely be called. Thank you so much. I know a lot of people want to listen to her speech on mental health, because mental health speech is not meant to even be 5 minutes. It can last all day, but because of time, we have to stop it there. All right. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. All right. So back to business for today. So we are ready to receive our third speaker. Across Africa, women are building businesses, creating global brands, telling authentic African stories, and turning creativity into economic power. They are proving that innovation and enterprises are not only tools for personal success, but instruments for continental growth and generational impact. Our next speaker is the one and only Jacqueline Aki. She's a remarkable voice in her field. She is currently the president of the Interior Designers Association of Nigeria, and she is the managing partner at James Cubitt Interiors. Today, she will be speaking on African women in entrepreneurship and the creative industry, an exciting conversation on innovation, resilience, business leadership, and the limitless potential of African women in shaping industries and economy. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming warmly the one and only Jacqueline Aki.
Thank you so much. I feel like I just won an award. Thank you, Onyinye. Thank you for that. That introduction. Thank you so much. I want to say thank you to Serah and even Lina, because I think what Lina just spoke about is so important for the work that we do as female entrepreneurs. So if you permit me, I will need your, I don't want, it looks like I'm having some connectivity issues. So I will have my colleague here sharing my slides. And if it gets a bit patchy, I may have to turn up my video with your permission. So I think let me just do that now, and then I'll turn it back after the presentation. All right, so I termed this presentation, there's room for every female entrepreneur. And I imagine that the majority of people we have in this room are females. Even if they haven't started out any business, they are potential entrepreneurs. So this is for you. So I want to start with something that I usually will not do I'll start with at presentations. It's about my entry into the industry, really. I didn't come in through the front door. And what I mean by that is it's not like I started out and I said, oh, I'm going to study interior design or interior architecture, and then I got into it. No, actually, I started out as a building technologist. And then somewhere along the way, I became fascinated by something deeper. And it was about the human experience of space. And as a person, I tend to ask a lot of questions because I need to understand in depth the what so that I can begin to map out the how. So the first thing that interested me as a building technologist was I wanted to know how what we were building affected how people experienced the space. And many people may not know this, but our environments shape us as people. It can actually either build you up or it can begin to diminish you and start to cause you a lot of cognitive or psychological stress or mental stress, right? So that realization is what kind of changed me and caused me to pivot into interior design, right? But here's what I didn't expect. I didn't expect that what I was now questioning will now eventually lead me to working with how the profession should be shaped. I'll explain this because it's a story. But when I got into that space, I started to ask the same sort of questions that I asked before I started doing interior design. Who is this for? What does it say? What problems are we solving? What does it do to the people inside it? What does it do to the people who are asking for that service, right? So those questions I've come to understand, they're not unique to interior design. They're across the entire creative industry, and I think even any business. So this sits at the heart of every creative discipline. That is one thing that I've known. I found when I stopped waiting for the path to appear. And I think that Serah spoke about it so well, but I just want to layer on that. So when I came into the industry, we had a professional body, we had a name, we had history, and we had members who cared, but then something went wrong. The structures started to erode and then standards were inconsistent. And slowly the credibility of the profession started to go in the opposite direction, right? So we would begin to look fragmented and incompetent. And I must confess that for the longest time, I kept my distance. As you know, working for a professional body is like you volunteering your time. It's an NGO. And I was like, please, I have my business. I have my practice. That's why I kept my distance. I already had my clients. So I told myself, it's not my problem. Okay. But then when I worked on a particular project, which was outside of my usual, because I usually would do commercial projects. So commercial projects are like, institutions, banks, hotels, that sort of thing. I usually don't work in people's houses because people are just very, very emotional. But that doesn't take away from the profession because you do have people in the profession who work on residential projects. So I decided to go very into that. And then it became my problem, right? And I quickly saw that when the body that represents your profession is in decline, it doesn't stay in one place. It sifts into everything. How clients perceive you. There was a lot of confusion. They didn't know who was the decorator, who is the professional interior designer. They didn't know who was an interior architect. And so the market was totally confused. And they were not taking our profession very seriously. And even us did not realize the opportunities that we had. So our actual opportunities never came to life because the industry had not earned a seat at the table. Now this is an entire industry. So when I was asked to step into the the association and lead, it took some convincing, but I said yes, right? I did it not because I was ambitious, but because there was a necessity, there was a gap that had to be filled. And what I found when I got on the inside was that, you know how they say a cup is either half full or half empty? A lot of us, if we're being honest, usually see it as half empty. I, on the other hand, usually turn it around. I see it as half full. So whenever I see a problem, for me, it's an opportunity. So what I now found was that every problem became a lesson for me that I could then pass down to people who were around me, beneath me, and people who were above me. Every gap in the framework was a window that I could use to ensure that your community were responsive to what the community needed, right? So every gap became an invitation. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. So it's really not about my story, but it's what it taught me about the room that already exists for each and every one of us, right? Now, before I move on to that, I want to say something that I don't think we say loudly enough. The skills that actually build anything, right? Not just our businesses, not industries, not movements, not institutions. These skills are disproportionately present in women. And let me explain. I'm not talking about soft skills. I'm tired of that framing. So I like to break it down. And I kind of broke it down into 5 buckets. So the first one is what we need to do when we are given opportunities. The first one is you need to read the room and not just the brief. So the brief, for example, I'm going to use Serah's presentation. The brief was that women were not really registering, young people were not registering to vote, right? That's the brief. But the actual problem, who's responding to that? So let me now use it somebody else. Let's say a fashion designer. Let me bring it home. Think about a fashion designer who notices that every time her client tries on an outfit, she keeps pulling at the waist, right? So the detail is not in the brief. Nobody wrote it down. So seeing it, really seeing the problem, right, is what makes the difference between a dress that fits and one that transforms. So if the person who was wearing the dress came and said, oh, there's something wrong with this, blah, blah, if you don't see it and identify what it is and articulate it, you are not able to solve that problem, right? So as a leader, you have to be empathetic as a professional skill. And empathy means understanding it from the other person's perspective. It's the ability to see beyond the obvious and into what someone is actually needs, all right? The second one is showing up. And Serah hammered on this one. She hammered on it, and I absolutely loved it, right? The truth is, we don't build anything on one big presentation, right? There are sleepless nights, there are myriads of emails, all sorts of things that you need to do. It's really built on things like how many emails, the 1,000 emails you answered on time, the deadline you kept when no one was watching, all of the work you did in the back to build a framework and system around what it is you're trying to project. All those quiet, consistent showing up, coming up and stepping up to head an NGO, for example. That's part of showing up. Coming to speak at this sort of discussion or this sort of platform to share your insight and hear people's pain points. Those are the sort of showing up I'm talking about. That is what people remember. And those are the things that open doors. Now, the third one is when you're doing anything for anyone as an entrepreneur, you have to realize that you're making it for somebody else and not yourself, especially the creatives. Most of us, right? The common mistake we make in creative work is we fall in love with our own ideas instead of understanding the problem that it is supposed to solve. Now, the thing about design is it needs to be meaningful to people. People need to understand it. It needs to speak to what it is that they need, right? Whether psychologically or even physically, because it's supposed to serve a function and it's supposed to do something in their psyche to help them now begin to use that thing. But let me not digress, right? So, for example, the music that moves people isn't about the producer. It's not. It's about what is present, for example, in the community, what people can identify with, right? Those are the sort of things I will sell. As a producer, if I was producing music, that is what I'll build my songs around, right? The film that lasts isn't about the director. It's about the story behind it and what people, the kind of questions people are asking. So as a creative, we must not fall in love with our own ideas so much so that we forget that we're doing it for other people. We have to fall in love with the problem that needs to be solved. Now, the fourth one is no one else needs a seat. So early in my career, when I walked into any room, I was often the only woman. So in the architectural, engineering, and construction industry, the women are not a lot. Even when they are, they can be very mute. I don't know whether it's about our upbringing. And so that's why I'm intentional about talking to mothers, for example, to allow the children have voices, because I think it starts from there. You know, all that, oh, don't talk when I'm talking, your senior is speaking, don't do this, don't do that. Let them express themselves and then we nudge them in the direction to go. So that is one of my mantras. And I say this from a point of experience, okay? So when I walk into rooms, I'm often the only woman that is in the room for the longest time. And then for a while, I only asked how I could contribute. I was fighting for myself. Then I started asking a different question when the opportunities were expanding. I started asking the questions around who else I could bring into the room. Because you know how it is when you have a seat at the table. And it's not like the Yorubas will say they don't want fish shaker. And I'll say it in English for our people on here who are not Yoruba. When sometimes the men, I'm going to use that word, do some things, it's not because they, well, in my opinion, because I refuse to see anything else, it's not because they want to play you down. It's because one, you are not probably stepping up or contributing the way you should because you're shy about it, or it's just their makeup, it's just how they are. Do you understand? So having other women with you at the table helps you to amplify your voice and amplify the work that you're doing. And it also encourages other women to step up as well. So that question then changed everything. Then I started, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right. So fantastic. So that question changed everything for me. So when I started building and I was deliberate about it, I started pulling people. I started walking alongside others, you know, mentoring people. And then my reality quickly started to shift, right? My work was becoming, I was getting, achieving my objectives faster, right? That's how you build, whether it's your profession, whether it's an industry, whether it's your business, that's how you build. You must carry other people along. And the last one in this my list is you need to say it before you feel ready. Okay? Nobody ever feels ready the first time they pitch. Nobody does. I remember my own pitch the first time. Matter of fact, I was thrown into it. I think it was at the time was my MD who was giving a presentation at I think it was Diamond Bank. We had the entire board there, and he was speaking to this presentation that I had created, but I just didn't have the liver to. I was very young. I didn't have the liver to present it, even though I knew every part of it. For some reason, he had to leave the room. And till today, I don't know. I have to ask him. He probably did it on purpose. And he stepped out. And because he was out for over 30 seconds, I was asked to continue with that presentation. I wasn't ready. I was not ready, but I did it anyway. And once I did it, it became easier for me to do the next and the next. You know, they say, you never know your limit until you cross it. So you must keep trying. We're never really ready for that big thing that we need to do. It will scare us, but we're never really ready. But you must try one step after the other. So again, like I said, nobody really feels ready the first time, especially in a room full of people. Readiness is a myth. No one moves forward when they're ready. When confidence doesn't arrive before you move forward, it arrives after, right? So just say it anyway, step forward anyway, move anyway. Now I want to step back for a moment because what I've been describing is they're all personal stories, but then it sits in a much bigger picture. And I think this entire room needs to hold both at the same time. So Serah shared some facts and figures earlier on. I don't know how many people know this, but Africa is projected to account for as much as 10% of global creative goods exports by 2030, according to a McKinsey report, right? And that market is worth around $200 billion. It's not an issue. These are facts, right? A continental industry information, and I'm speaking to the creative industry now. So I'm talking about film, fashion, music, design, architecture, storytelling, right? All of it, they're building simultaneously right now as we speak. But nearly 1 in 4 women in Africa already runs a business. This is also a fact. They are on ground, they're already building, they're employing, they're creating. they're doing amazing things. But here is the sad part for me. Well, not so sad. Here's a challenge, because I believe that challenges can be overcome, right? These women, right? They receive less than 7% of total venture funding. Less than 7%. I need us to let that sit for a minute. Again, this is a report from McKinsey, and they found that African firms with gender diverse leadership were 20% more likely to outperform their peers on profitability. Now, if we have platforms like this advising us on the what, right? The question then comes to me, and what I'm thinking is, what are we looking at? Because it's become an economic argument, right? So this whole thing I'm talking about is it's not gender bias. I'm talking about an economic argument. So I want to speak for a moment also to the people in this room, because before I took up this conversation, I asked questions about the profile of the people who are within this on this platform who will be listening in, and I was informed that there will be some diplomats here. There might be policymakers, and I was particularly happy about the one that spoke to policymakers. So this is directed to us. Again, I said I like to ask questions. I like to question things, and I like to throw questions to people so that they can think. Because sometimes if you don't do that, then people may not be able to see through from your perspective, through whatever lens you want them to see. So for those who sit on boards, for those who sign off budgets, bilateral agreements, I really have 4 questions for you. And I need you to ask yourselves honestly. When your country's creative economy strategy was last written, whether it's as a business, whether it's as a government, how many women were in the room, right? When funding frameworks for entrepreneurship are designed, are they built around how women actually build businesses or around how men have traditionally built them? Because it's easy for us to take the least part of what's it called? The least part of resistance. So what we're used to is a normal human behavior. We tend to just jump on that and just carry on with business as usual, right? Now, the other one is when African creative exports are celebrated on the world stage, are the women who build those industries being named? Are they being resourced? Are they being protected? I gave you an example of what happened when I gave my presentation, and I must applaud my employer at the time. He was very supportive of me. This is why I got to where I am today. And I think I also convinced him otherwise as to what I had to bring to the table about my value, right? So here's what I want to leave you with. If the data already proves that gender diverse leadership outperforms, what exactly are we also waiting for? What are we waiting for? So the reframe I want to offer everyone on here is this, because it's geared towards female entrepreneurs. Being a woman in the creative industry in Africa right now is not a disadvantage. It is your opportunity, and it is a strategic position. Remember, I laid out the facts and the numbers earlier on. So yes, we operate in societies where structures are not originally designed with us in mind. That's true. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But I have made a deliberate choice not to let that framing become my ceiling. It should never be anybody's ceiling. Because when I took up the position, or when I look at it as a creative professional, let me look at it from that perspective. As someone who has spent a career finding opportunities inside constraints, what I see is leverage. Any challenge is your leverage. So the continent is building, and they're building fast. We're talking about Africa now. New cities, new institutions, new markets are forming thanks to technology. New audiences are emerging. Audiences that are hungry for stories, sounds, images, experiences that feel like them. In every one of those spaces, someone has to decide how people will experience it, what the human experience of that creative output will feel like. What is the storytelling? What it says about who we are or who they are. That is the creative industry's work. And women are uniquely positioned to lead it because of our makeup. Serah again spoke to it. If I didn't know If Serah was my friend, I would have said she was picking my brain. Maybe we were having conversations that she picked my brains, but we're kind of echoing the same thing. And it must be true. It is true. We're uniquely positioned to lead this industry, especially the creative industry, because of our normal makeup as a woman. So take, for example, Afrobeat is setting global charts. African fashion is on the international runways. When did that all start? Where are the women who are playing in those fields? African film is on streaming platforms in 190 countries. How many women are doing that? Where can they leverage, right? Creative voices are being looked for everywhere. They're being studied. They're being celebrated worldwide. And in all of this, women are the primary decision makers in most of the spaces where creative work lives and lands. If you check the back end, you find loads of women. But the question is, are they stepping forward?
Okay.
They're there in the back end working. They're there in the So you're not arriving late. So but before I close, I have a few questions. And this is not for me, it's for everybody else. And these are the questions I believe we should be asking ourselves. What is the story that you keep telling yourself about why it's not time yet? Is that story really true, or is it just familiar? Is it what you've heard all the time? And when you leave this conversation, what is the one thing, right, that you've been waiting for permission to start? You really should start it now. You really should start it now. And the last one, which is the most important one, who else? Who is the woman in your field, ahead of you, beside you, or coming up behind you that you could reach out to this week? Not your network, that this outside of your network even to build. You need to step out boldly. So I'm going to leave you with these three things. And those were the three things that changed everything for me. Onyinye has asked me to be quiet. So I'm going to just pause and stop right there. So I hope that somebody takes something out of this. They might look complicated, but they're not as complicated as they look. They're just intentional steps that need to be taken. So thank you very much for your time, and thanks for having me on here.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Jacqueline Aki. Thank you so much for that. I mean, we heard from an experienced person, and thank you so much for that beautiful speech. I mean, it's been back-to-back hit from Dr. Aisha to Serah Ibrahim to Lena, and now we are now talking, and now it is Ms. Jacqueline Aki. Thank you for all that. And from the comment section, a lot of people are saying, bring back Lena. That's very wonderful. That shows a lot of people need the talk on mental health. But like I was trying to explain in the comments in the chat room that Lena was we're going to have an event on women and mental health, maybe sometime in the year. So Lena session was just an interlude session that lasted about 5 minutes. It was my decision with her that it was going to last about 5 minutes. You know, that was like a last minute decision because we needed to talk about mental health. So please, for those of you asking why was a short time allocated to her, please, that is the reason behind it, okay? Thank you very much for that. So just to conclude, like I said earlier, we've been having a very good time here. It's been a hit back to back from all the speakers here. And our last speaker for today is a lady we have to pay attention to because her own part of this conversation is very important because they are the drivers of sustainable success in any institution or organization. And that is, I am talking about human capital, human resources. So even behind every thriving company, impactful movement, or a successful leader is the intentional investment in human capital. And in a rapidly evolving world, the ability to shape talents, nurture leadership, and create healthy workspace has become more important than ever. Our final speaker for today, Nneka Jethro Iruobe, is highly respected for her outstanding work in human capital management, leadership development, and workplace excellence, having built valuable excellence within human resources space, including at one of the world's leading professional services firms. She has become a sought-after voice helping organizations build stronger teams, develop talent, and create workspaces where people can truly thrive. Today, she will be speaking on African women in human capital management, shaping talent, leadership, and workplace excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in warmly welcoming the exceptional Nneka Jethro Iruobe.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. I'm super excited to be here with us this evening and grateful for the conversations that have happened before now. I think that this is a very important conversation to be having. And I think that anytime we gather people together to share thoughts and ideas, what happens is both the sharers and the sharees, forgive my English, are impacted, right? And we stir up, new ways of thinking. We unlock new, pathways of thinking in our minds, and then we benefit from it. So I'm going to speak very briefly, on the topic African women in human capital management, focused on how we can contribute to shaping talent, leadership, and workplace excellence. And I think that things that have been shared earlier today, right, are powerful pointers to the role that women play in shaping the world's experience in general, right? Every gender is important, but I think that more the focus on women is that call to say you have something to contribute. Are you contributing it? And I hear that theme resounding all through those who have spoken before. And I think that the order in which this has been done and the ideas I have to share this evening kind of will be a good wrap up and a wake up call. So as you listen, what I'd like you to say is, what am I going away with, right? What am I going away with? Because I work with Canva, right, in designing my slides and working and all of that. And I noticed something yesterday. Almost every time I ask for an image and I put just a description, what pops up is a skin of someone from the West. So if I say, oh, give me a picture of somebody, walking down the road, it's not African, If I say, give me the picture of somebody working of a team of people working in an office, not African. And I would then have to type and say, make it African. And then it began to make me ask myself, as I thought about today, that we need to start building more widely enough for ourselves, right? We need to be very intentional about how we build for ourselves, especially as women. I think it was Jacqueline was talking about asking those who are policymakers that the last time these things were done, this last time a policy was set up or crafted, how many women were in the room? And I think it's for us to understand that if we don't get intentional with shaping how things are built, with shaping what it means to be talent, with shaping what the workplace looks like. If we don't get intentional with raising our voices there, we are the ones that get the impact, and then our children as well. So we leave the work undone for those coming after us, and it's not going to get easier. So we need to hold ourselves to account and say, what am I doing in that workplace to make it better, to make it more conducive for an African woman to step into? And I think, a story just comes to mind as I share that I remember many years back. At the time, the place where I worked, there was the maternity leave days were less than I thought they should be. So you could take your maternity leave, but you couldn't take your annual leave. And I thought, even if you give a woman 6 months after giving birth to a child, it's never enough. For anyone here who's had a child, it's never enough. You really just, honestly, in the ideal world, I see countries, in Europe, some countries in Europe that have 1 year, just that time to bond with that child and, kind of set them up. And I started advocating for this very intentionally pushing for it. At the time, I didn't even know I was pregnant for my 3rd child, and then continued finally for a year about that, went on maternity leave, came back. Just as I was about to resume, the policy was approved to commence the next year, and people said to me, oh, well done, what you fought for. Now you're going to go again. I said, no, I'm not going to go again. But every time I look back, I remember that was something I contributed to shaping in that workplace. And that's how I want all of us to look at the way we show up at work. Whether you are a creative, whether you are in politics, whatever sphere you show up, think legacy. Think, how am I contributing to shaping the experience here? Think, what am I creating? What am I adding? How am I making this place, more conducive, right? And so we need to be intentional. With respect to the African woman in human capital management, I think that's something that all of us as women are involved in. Naturally, we are nurturers, right? I'll say that again. Naturally, we are nurturers. And so, as far as I'm concerned, every woman is involved in human capital management. And when you show up at work, it's not just about advancing your own self and your own interest and your own career. It's also about advancing those. And like Jacqueline said, who else are you opening the door to? Who else are you holding that door open to for them to be able to do, the best and bring them their best on board? So yes, there's something about us as women that, makes us to reach beyond the call of duty to develop everyone around us. And I say everyone in quotes because there's that tendency to naturally want to say, hey, how is this person doing better? What can I do to contribute? It's there. That is intentional, right? That we make sure that we start. So what happens to most of us as women is we are more outward looking. We are more outward looking at others. How can we contribute? What needs to change for them versus inward looking? And so my focus for the next few minutes is calling out the need for you to prioritize self-leadership. It's important for you as a woman to prioritize self-leadership. And for me, one of the powerful ways I like to define self-leadership is maximizing the assets called you. Is looking at yourself and saying, how am I turning on the genius that is called me, and how am I making the most of it, of her as a person, right? And self-leadership is, you need to do that first. So self-leadership helps you to, coordinate yourself, make the most of yourself. And just by doing that, you become a model of leadership. You become a model of talent being deployed at its highest. You become a model of excellence because you are intentional with how you package you, how you express you. So that's very important. Self-leadership cuts across many dimensions, right? There are many dimensions of self-leadership, and it's from emotions. How do you manage your own emotions, right? Are you someone that pays attention to your emotions? Do you think emotions are bad, or do you think them as good? Do you see them as messengers who send you a signal of something that your brain is experiencing, and you're able to pause, name the emotion, take the message it's sending to you. Oh, I'm frustrated at this point in time. What is frustrating me? What can I do about it? Or do you just allow the emotions take the wheel of your behavior? So that's self-leadership with respect to your emotions, right? Then there is self-leadership around time management. And that's something that we need to be intentional about. If you're going to be able to harness talent at work, if you're going to be able to show up differently in the workplace, then you need to ask yourself, how do you manage your own time? An example is, do you set a to-do list, or do you just go with the day and go with the flow? Do you even know what is important and what is priority? If you're going to have excellence in the workplace, there's a need for you to be able to prioritize work and order work in a way that makes you focus on what matters, right? So that's very important. So that's in time management. Relational self-leadership. How do you look at people? I say to people that people are doors. They either open to opportunities or they close against opportunities, right? So how do you engage with people? As someone in human capital management, I remember it doesn't matter whether you're in HR in that sense, as long as you're in a place where you're interacting with people or you hold any form of leadership position, you need to be intentional about how you see people. Do you see them beyond the work they are doing for you? Do you see them beyond the value they are bringing to you? Do you see them as people as resources to invest in, to refine, as resources to be refined? Is that how you see people that you work with, right? How can I refine? How can I contribute to this person being better? Is that how you see, right? So that's self-leadership in relationship. Your consciousness in how you interact with people. Your energy cycles. Are you very aware of your energy cycles? Do you know when you're at your best? Do you know when you are most energetic? Do you know if you're a morning person, noon person? Do you schedule your best work, your most challenging work, when you are at your best, right? Do you know the signs of when you are burning out and you can stop that? These are things that once you begin to master, you're able to pass on to others, right? In your thinking, are you aware? And it's now being called metacognition. Do you pay attention to how you think? Right? Because the way you think influences how you show up to life. It shapes how you speak. It shapes everything, right? And then talking about speech, the words, do you understand the power of your words? Are you aware of how what you say impacts others? Are you conscious of the fact that I don't just say things anyhow? I don't just speak when I feel like, how I feel like. No. Are you intentional with how you are speaking to make sure that what you're saying is communicating what you want to, and you understand that the impact of your words can shape people's experience with life? Are you conscious of that, right? And then finally, the seventh area when it comes to self-leadership, I think that many people in the workplace needs to master is money. your leadership, your self-leadership of money. How do you handle money? Do you plan money before you spend it? How do you handle money? Do you understand how money works and how money flows? And if you're a person in the workplace, even as an entrepreneur, a creative, you need to understand how money flows, right? Whether it comes to times for fundraising, whether it comes to an NGO, whether it comes to your business, if you understand how money works and what money responds to, that is very critical, right? So these are the areas around self-leadership that I think people need to pay attention to. If you're going to shape talent as an African woman, and workplace excellence, your commitment to growth needs to shine through. So your mastery of yourself, it needs to shine through. It needs to be clear that you understand that the human person is a resource that can be refined for better delivery. You must understand that yourself, you are an asset, and you must see people that way. That's the way you can then talk about them being talent, when they are equipped to understand this is who they are, this is how they function, and able to show them how they're supposed to coordinate themselves and become that excellence. You become, first of all, the model, right, for excellence. Then you can begin to tell the story that impacts others, right? The second thing in shaping talent and workplace excellence for any HR person listening, beyond your own personal growth, is storytelling. As a HR person, you must be committed to storytelling that amplifies the value of work. I think that one of the things that is very critical that I see that happens sometimes is, sometimes I'm speaking to HR people particularly, any leader listening, is sometimes you get lost in the complainful conversation. So complaints about the environment, complaints about the work, complaints about the economy. And if you are so focused on that level of complaining, it begins to affect your outlook of life, and then it begins to impact those that you are leading. So you must be intentional about how you speak. Remember, talk about self-leadership in your speech, right? And then you need to, the third thing and final thing for me this evening is that advocacy for what healthy and happy workplaces should be, right? You need to be able to advocate for it, to know what it means. One of the things that got me on my journey to being the happy employee coach as I'm known is because I saw that a lot of people around me in the office at the time didn't know that they could express themselves at work. They didn't know, which is why I think it was Jacqueline talked about being able to express yourself. Didn't know, and that's, they could express themselves. They could share. They could, talk about what is going on in the office that they didn't like, right? And Serah talked about it as well. That place of something is going wrong. I'm standing up and I want to get it done, right? So that advocacy for what a healthy and happy workplace should look like is something that every leader and anyone in the HR space needs to pay attention to. You've got to ask yourself, what is this workplace supposed to be like? What is the culture supposed to be like? What kind of language do we use here? How do we speak? How do we show up? What attention do we give to the work? How intentional are we about when people are coming in the morning? Do they feel happy about coming to work, or do they feel sad? Are they excited about the workplace, or is it just right? So we're talking about, the African woman in human capital management, and I've talked about it beginning with us understanding who our identity. We're naturally nurturers, right? And harnessing that. And speaking about you and self-leadership, before you can lead outwardly, you've got to lead internally. And I've talked around 7 key areas. I think it's important for you to assess yourself around how you lead: your emotions, money, your thinking, your speech, right? Your energy cycles, time management. I talked around all of this. And then I've shared 3 things I think that are critical if you're going to be that model of excellence and you're going to of talent, right? And you're going to build a workplace of excellence. Everyone, as an entrepreneur, as a career person, we hold it to ourselves. We are held accountable to add to the places where we work and make them a better place, literally. So it's not just, like a Jackson song, Heal the World, make it, but intentionally, all of us have a role to shape and create better workplaces that uphold excellence, right? And then we then go, the final thing I would say to you is be intentional to own your wins and own your contributions. As African women, when you create this, when you contribute, own your wins and talk about them. Don't be quiet about them in the workplace. Own your wins and be intentional. As a person of faith, one of the stories I really like is the story of Deborah, who said, I arose as a woman. So it's one thing for you to do the great work. It's another thing for you to be intentional, to tell the story of that great work. And that's an area that I think many of us are missing and that's what stops us from being recognized as talents, because we don't own those stories and we don't tell those stories, not telling them just once or twice, because the human mind tends to forget the positive and amplify negative. But be very intentional to tell those stories, not once, not twice. Tell them enough till you begin to get the accolades of the contributions that you are bringing to shaping the workplace. I hope that I've been able to share something with you, and I know that you've picked a thing or two from what I shared this evening. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Nneka, Jethro, Iruobe. Thank you for that beautiful speech. I mean, today has been so awesome. Like I said earlier, it's been back to back. Every speech has been back to back. It has been a hit back to back, from Dr. Aisha to Serah Ibrahim to Lena to Miss Jacqueline Aki, and now Nneka, Jethro, Iruobe wrapped it up, and it's so beautiful. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. We're not taking it for granted. Thank you so much. And right now, just in the next few minutes, because we're almost out of time, can we just have a few questions? Because some people have been looking at the comment section, and I'm seeing some people dropping some questions. So maybe I have to go forward a bit to know, do you have an exact speaker that you are directing the question to? Because before now, a lot of people have been took some time to ask Dr. Aisha some couple of questions as the first speaker. So right now, are there other questions coming up in the comment section? Please drop your question in the comment section and I'll read it out. Okay, I'm trying to see. Okay, some people are asking for this for the video of this program. We'll share it on our YouTube page, YALF TV. Yes, go on YouTube. It's on YALF TV, and you're going to see this. And by the way, this is live stream, so it's already on YouTube. So thank you for that. So before we'll continue, maybe I have to ask this question while I wait for your questions to drop in the chat room. I hope I didn't skip any questions, because there's so many comments here. I hope I'm not skipping any question. But in case I haven't asked, in case you think I skipped your question, please feel free to drop it again in the comments section. So our questions today will be going to, let me start with Serah Ibrahim. So right now we are in Nigeria, for instance. I'm using Nigeria as a case study because I know that it also happens in other African countries. You talked about the place of intimidation, bribery, and that is what a lot of women are scared of. I hope Serah is still in the chat room. That is what a lot of women are very scared of. So in this kind of case, a woman who wants to represent her people but has been, threatened, probably bribed, maybe it's not everybody that can resist the kind of offer you were given and you resist. So what would you say to that kind of woman in that situation? If you don't mind, please, you can unmute, or the admin. Okay, she's a co-host already. So please, can you unmute yourself, and if you're still there? Okay, so while we are waiting for her, okay, do we still have more questions going forward? Do we still have more questions? I have a strong feeling I'm missing out on some questions. Maybe there are so many of them and I'm mistakenly skipping them. Okay, so someone said, okay, this is one of the first questions that were asked. It says, how can we promote gender equality through systematic change, education, policy reform, and challenging societal norms to eliminate discrimination and ensure equal opportunities for all? I think that question was for Dr. Aisha. Dr. Aisha is still here with us?
Yes, I believe it's for Miss Serah, if I'm not mistaken, because regarding politics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Serah, are you still here with us? Could you please unmute if you're still with us, if you can hear me?
Yes, I'm still here. I'm still here, Onyinye.
Okay, did you see the question I asked earlier? Somebody is asking about equality and discrimination.
Please, can you repeat the question? I didn't get you. Sorry, I just jumped into a meeting.
Okay, someone said, how can we promote gender equality through systematic change, education, policy reform, and challenging societal norms to eliminate discrimination and ensure equal opportunities for all?
It's actually very easy. First of all, right, a lot of people talk about gender equality. Can you hear me? Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, perfectly.
okay, a lot of people talk about gender equality, and especially in politics right now, we know that one gender is, more acceptable as regarding roles than another gender. When I say more acceptable, I mean, okay, I want to use an example. During the Edo State governorship elections, uh, one of the candidates wanted to use a woman as his deputy. And then she couldn't be the deputy because it was said that it is even the women, the female voters, that will vote against you because you are using a woman as your deputy. So it's actually, when you hear things like that, they make you ponder, is it that we don't like to support ourselves as women? Because if we want to promote gender equality, we have to change whatever is happening at various multiple levels. At the multiple levels, I mean by law, during events in our communities, and our own individual behavior. So, at the policy and legal level, like the question asked, government will need to ensure that we have equal rights of everything that is being done, and it has to be enforced. Currently in Nigeria, you can hear everybody talking about this women bill, 35%, 35% representation, and it is a problem. Just having 35% is a problem. It is a bill that on normal day, when you even hear it, you should even give a thumbs up to say, okay, let's get it done. Let's see how it's going to work out, right? Because all they're asking for is 35% representation. They're not saying they want 50%. 50% is gender equality. When you request for 50%, that is when you are fighting for gender equality. But right now, all we are asking for is just the bare minimum. But it still looks quite impossible. So the government will need to ensure that equal rights are not just written but enforced. We need to pass bills to ensure that it is done. This includes like equal pay for equal work. There are a lot of places you go to, and then you see a man and a woman in the same positions, let's say manager and a manager, but the male manager is earning more than the female manager. So if we have policies that ensures that everything that is being done, we have equal rights and they are being enforced, it's going to actually change most of these situations. You can look at the protection against gender-based violence. I can tell you for a fact, there are a lot of men who will wake up in the morning and come and tell you that their wives slapped them or their wives beat them up. And then other people would laugh. It's insane. But other people would laugh. There are people who would tell you that we have an issue right now. My wife beats me. I want to go report to the police. The policeman will laugh. So why is it that when a woman complains about gender-based violence, she gets all the help that she needs? But if a man complains, it turns to mockery. So if we want to talk about gender equality, it's at every different level, especially at the government level, especially at our policy and legal level. We need to create policies. We need to have laws that guarantee that women have access to land, credit, to leadership positions, especially, and also to education. If you look at the number of girl child currently that are out of school, you'll be very, very surprised. In Nigeria, we have over 20 million out of school children, and more than 50% of those out of school children are girls. Are the girl child, over 20 million out of school children. And this is even reported as at last year. So I'm sorry, Onya, I can see that you're beeping me to stop. I just wanted to quickly, in the workplace, in education, culturally, every other place that we find ourselves, right? Yes, men and boys are very essential to our process, but gender equality is not only a woman's issue. Truth be said, but yes, we know that the women are actually much more disadvantaged when it comes to issues like this. So, for our civil societies, our civil education, our grassroots movements, our enlightenment, we need to drive real accountability and advocacy. We need to speak more about it to ensure that everywhere we find ourselves, each woman led organization can push for government and institutions to act, and not just act, track the progress and ensure that inequality does not persist. Because if we do not track the process, then it will not be done. And when it is not done, it is just another policy written on paper.
Okay, thank you so much, Serah Ibrahim. So I say thank you for that answer about equality, that equality is not just for women. When we talk about equality, also the men should be spotlighted, but at the same time, the spotlight should also get to women more. So before we continue, can we just turn our videos on just for a quick photo? I got that from a director, just for a quick photo for memories. Please, can we turn on our videos on? I know most of us would like to keep it off, but can you just turn it off? Just say a minute and then we'll turn it off. Just for now, turn it on and then just we'll turn it off as soon as it's done.
Only you are going to permit me because I am currently driving.
Okay. So, but just but just a quick photo. Prince, Mr. Prince, are you done? Has that been done? Can we go ahead? Can we go ahead, please? Okay, he said yes. Thank you, everyone, for that. Thank you for turning on your phone. Yeah, thank you. And I believe at the moment to Serah Ibrahim. I mean, this might sound funny, but you talked about your principal, His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi. I mean, I hope one day he will also address the young Africans. One day we'll hear him speak about leadership, and I hope we will make that happen for us. I hope we will make that happen for us.
Just let me have the date on time. Let me have the date on time, and I'll definitely bring him to speak to everyone.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So, so I think in the absence of questions now, I think we can draw this. Okay, there are some questions coming up at this time, but man, okay, says, hello guys, my name is Chukwurudin from Kenya West. My question is, how can we promote mental health in politics? Okay, and the other question says, how can a young lady build connection with people who are well established in counseling field? It has always been my dream to help voiceless young ladies find their voice, find their courage and realize that their voices also deserve to be heard. I am currently pursuing my master's degree in guidance and counseling, and I truly want to grow in this field and connect with people. I think if you listen from the beginning, Dr. Aisha said a lot about that, how to connect, how to move forward. So thank you, everyone. The mental health issue on, like I said earlier, we are going to have a whole program on mental health, because I see a lot of people have been advocating, bring Lena back. We see that, and we are going to make that happen. So one day we're going to, because mental health is needed in workplace, in homes, everywhere women are. I mean, because women juggle a lot of things at the same time. So we need to balance our mental health too. So for those protesting about Lena, it's well noted. We'll bring her back very soon when we have a whole event dedicated to mental health. So thank you all for that. And to wrap up this event, I would say distinguished speakers, esteemed guest partners, colleagues, and to every phenomenal woman that joined us in this almost 2 hours, we say a very big thank you. And to us here from Young African Leaders, we are saying that we remain committed to creating platforms that amplify African voices, empower young leaders, and inspire young transformational change across the continent. As we leave this event, may we remember that empowerment is not a slogan, it is a responsibility. The responsibility to mentor, to build, to speak, to lead, to open doors for others, and to ensure that the next generation of African women inherit not just hope, but opportunities. So to everyone who joined us, organizers of this program, who have worked behind the scenes tirelessly, thank you, everyone. And thank you to our speakers. Thank you, Dr. Aisha Raouf, all the way from Dubai, UAE. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Serah Ibrahim. Thank you so much for your wonderful speech. Thank you, Lena. Thank you for your brief speech on mental health. Thank you for that. All the complaints well acknowledged. We'll work towards that to make that a full-blown event. Thank you, Ms. Jacqueline Aki, for telling us, for talking to us about women in entrepreneurship and creative industry. And very much thank you to Nneka, Jethro, Iruobe for talking about women in the human resources, human capital management. So thank you very much. And also, I just got a notification that there's a survey at the end of this. Is that in the drop? Is that in the chat room, or is that going to be sent as a mail? Please let me know. Is that going to, because I'm getting a notification that there's a survey. There's a survey. Is that going to be at the end of this? I'm not sure about that. So maybe probably we'll get an email after this event. Okay, so that we get an email after this event, a thank you mail, and at the same time, a little survey for us to carry out. So thank you, everyone. Until next time, please, YALF membership is very open for those interested in joining this movement. Please join us. We want to see you from all over the world, whether you are based in Africa or diaspora, you are welcome. So please join us. And also, we'll have more subsequent programs in the coming months. Hopefully, we have breast cancer month in October. Hopefully, we want to talk to other African leaders, and we want to hear their opinion, and we also have many questions for them. So thank you. Until next time. Bye for now. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. All right. For those, if you want to see the full video, please feel free to go to our YouTube page, YALF TV, and you'll see the video in case you want to watch this video all over again. Please feel free. YALF TV, subscribe, follow us on our various social media pages, on our Facebook, we are on X, formerly Twitter. We are on Instagram. Yeah, we are on LinkedIn, very active on LinkedIn, very active on Facebook, very active on Instagram. So thank you all for joining. Please feel free, follow us on Instagram, YALF, YALF, Young African Leaders Forum. We are on LinkedIn, Young African Leaders Forum. We are on X, Young African Leaders Forum. We're on Facebook, Young African Leaders Forum. Please feel free to join us. We are looking forward to meeting you. Feel free to join us. Membership into YALF is very much open for those who are asking, how can I join this movement? How can I belong to this group of people who want to make a change in Africa? Please don't forget, we'll be sending out membership form in our thank you mail that we'll be sending anytime from now. Feel free to fill in and join us. Thank you very much. Dr. Aisha dropped her LinkedIn. Her LinkedIn account on the chat room, Dr. Aisha Raouf. Please feel free to follow her. She said she'll be happy to connect with you. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, good night.